In this video, we'll be creating and publishing a single React library to GitHub from scratch. Our goal is to create a simple React button package. We'll install some style components, add some styling. We'll also be passing some props to it so we can customize it. We will then build this package using our own web config. We'll publish this package. We have to change some packet.json configuration settings, and we also need an authentication token from GitHub, which we'll get and use it in our project using an npmrc file. We will then install this package into a brand new React project, the web project. We will then build this project using the default create React app configurations, and to top it off, we will deploy this project to Firebase. So let's get started. I will be using GitHub Desktop so that we don't have to worry about the SSH configuration or any other configuration, just to create a repository and pull code. So in my GitHub Desktop, I will create a new repository and it will be called Fancy Button. We will add a git ignore for Visual Studio since I will be using Visual Studio Code. And let's see our fancy button. Okay. Just gonna change the name to master. Using Visual Studio Code, we will open this folder. We first need to npm init package .json. Now the package name has to be a scoped package. So if we go back to my GitHub, you will see that my username is code-combat. So I need to say add code-combat / fancy button. And the reason is GitHub doesn't allow something that isn't scoped to be a private repository in your private packages, or any packages for that matter. Version 1, description, this is my first custom button package. Entry point, let's say it will be source index.jsx, test command, get repository, it will update it later, keywords, author if you want. Let's check our okay. Now instead of main, this should be module. Leave it for now. We'll go to the configuration for package.json in a moment after we are finished with the button coding. Now we are creating a React package, and we can assume that this package will be used in a React project. Now React doesn't like when there are multiple instances of React, so when we install React in our package, we will install it as a dev dependency, so it builds the project, and a peer dependency, so our project that's actually using this package knows that we have to install React, which we can safely assume that it will be installed, but we just want to let the project know. Now there are instances where the React version that you are using in your package versus the React that's used in your project are different. We will not go through it right now in this video. This is just a bare minimum you need to get your React project started with a React library. So we'll install npm install React as a dev dependency. Let's just make sure it's there. We will also install styled components and prop types. Now, one thing I forgot was in our packet.json, we will also add React as a peer dependency. And this is all we need to get started with our project for the package. So we'll create a folder called src. We'll have a file called index.json, import React from React. If you don't want to type it out or watch me type, I will add a link so you can get all the code for this with this video. Styled from styled components and install import prop types from prop types. Const fancy button return a simple button. We export this fancy button, and here we can add some prop types. Label, let's make it is required. Type prop types one off. Button submit reset. Prop variant will be where you can have some styling. Outlined, contained, and text. One click, let's make this a required function. Now we can also add some default props. Type will be button, and variant will be, let's say, outlined. Now you can copy this from the file that I provide. So we'll have 3 different kinds of buttons: styled components, outlined, contained, and a text button. This is a mistake. It would still work, but it's better coding. We will pass in the labels as props, type, variant, on click, and any extra props we need. So instead of simple button, let's put it a label. Okay, so styling. Button styled equals outlined. It's this outlined. If variant equals contained, button style would be contained. And if it's text, so this contained in text comes from outlined contained text. Outlined will be default, so we're not checking for it. But if it's text, we want the text to be the style. And now we can call our style component. So first we'll just pass in extra props to the button. You want to pass in the type would be type, and on click would be on click. Now you can still omit this and omit this, but this is something that we want to be explicit about, so we'll explicitly type them out. Next we will tackle the web config to build this project. Before we go any further, we'll just push this code using GitHub desktop. And we'll publish this. Keep this code private. So now on our repositories, we'll see our button. And we'll make some changes in package.json right now. So go to your GitHub, open this and copy this link for the actual GitHub package. Go back to our Visual Studio code. And let's make some changes to this so we are ready for the next step. Repository type is git. The URL will be git plus and paste your code, or the URL that you copied earlier. Now our main, so main will be the dist folder index.js, which we'll be creating using our webpack, and our module will also be dist/index.js. Our source is our actual file, the one we are working with, /-index.jsx. And you can add other configs like bugs and homepage. If you want to add your author, let's just add it. We can do that. And now let's create our webpack config. We'll also save this so that we have this saved. Now the reason we need package.json, the main and module to point to distribution folder or dist folder, is so that the project that's actually using this package will look into this distribution folder, dist folder. So once it's pushed, initial commit, update packages. Okay, let us install our build libraries. npm I save deb table core table preset env table preset react and a table loader. This is just for transpiling. webpack CLI. For the webpack, now we don't really need it, but it's good to have it. Webpack clean plugin, so we can remove or clean out the distribution folder before we build the project. And we need to include webpack node externals, so we don't include node folders, node module into our webpack build. Okay, so we have Babel core. Yep, everything seems to be in order. Alright, so let's create our webpack config. Webpack config. First things first, we need to require path. We need to require clean webpack plugin, and we need to node externals. Module.exports. Again, this will be available with the video, so you don't have to watch me type, you can just copy paste. Entry would be path.resolve. Now there are ways where you can use package.json's source as an entry, but we'll just hard code it for now. The output will be file name is index.js, path is path.resolve into distribution dist folder as a library target is umd named define be true. Externals presets is no true. We need this so we ignore the built-in libraries like path or file service fs. Externals is node externals. This will ignore all the node module folders and files from it being included in this build. Let's have the resolve extensions would be just usually you want to include only the ones you want to include, for now we'll just include all of them. We will then add the modules, will be just one rule, and it would be to test whether the file starts with a JS or JSX, and that's where it ends. Exclude new modules and use loader is people loader, and the presets are people React. So let's just try to build this. Before that, we need to go to package.json. We can use it webpack CLI, but we'll just do it the other way, the end way. So we will add a build script, and we'll say webpack mode is production. Let's build this. Alright, and you should see a dist folder with a file, and you will notice that it's all our code. Type reset button, outlined, our styled component. Alright, we forgot one more thing in web config. We forgot to add our clean. So we will put it as plugins. New. So this will ensure that the dist folder always gets cleaned up before every build. Well, it's quick, so we don't see it right now, but this is it. This is how we build our project or package. One thing I noticed was in our git ignore, we don't need all of this. We'll just do the simplest thing. We'll ignore everything that is distribution file, build. I'll include this with the file so you can safely use it. And now let's just push the code so that we have the code in a repository. Add it. Build config. And there we go. So now we need something called npmrc token, or a token from GitHub that allows us to access and publish to GitHub repositories. So first we create an npmrc in our root folder. First we need a registry to be https:// registry.npmjs.org. Now this is where we specify our scoped project package. The registry equals https://npm.pkg.github.com and copying this again, :/auth token equals, now this is the token we need to get it from GitHub. So let's go to our GitHub, go to your profile, actually go to settings. Down here you will see developer settings. Go to personal access tokens and click on this generate new token. Now this would be, let's say, tutorials, whatever name you want to put. The thing that the scope that you have to keep in mind is this write package. And by default, when you want to write it, you also have to give the repo access for this status deployment invite. Now there are other scopes which we are not going through. Generate token, and make sure you copy this token. I will be changing this, so you won't be able to use this, but copy this and make sure you save it somewhere first before leaving this page, because you will not get this to see again, show again. So, and the token that I copied will go as the value of this auth token. Once you are done with this, let us publish this. So the command is npm publish. If everything is fine, it got published. So when we go back to our list of repositories, it takes a few minutes, so we will wait until that happens. It took about a minute for my package to appear in my packages. Our first fancy button package, and shows instructions on how to use it. And if we go back to our code in our actual repository, you will see on the right that you will see packages 1, fancy button, version 1.1. This is how you publish your package. Next, we will see how to use this in our Create React App package project. So now let's create our first React project. So let's create our first React project that will use this package. So npx create React app, my project, you can name this anything. And this will take a few minutes, so I will pause and we'll come back when it's done. So it took a few minutes and now we have our project. So let's open it up again in Visual Studio Code. Run this project so that we know it works. npm start. Alright, so the project starts and runs. So first things, we need to get back that npmrc file. We'll just copy it from our file. This is so that we can get our code combat or your username scoped packages, and we have the hot token for it. So let's go back to our GitHub, and in our packages we will just copy this and we'll just say npm install add code combat / fancy button. Alright, so when we go and check in our node modules, we should see our package. Now there are ways to remove this source, src folder, git attributes, but right now we'll leave it as is. So to use it, let's go back to our app.js. Now we know, let's start this project again. And in the meantime, we will import our fancy button from. Now the reason we are doing as a this as a scope or the named export, so that we can do it like this. If we have more buttons, we could add more buttons in it. So let us say remove all of this. Fancy button. Remember, label was required, and on click was required. We'll just remove everything we don't need. Console log button 1 clicked. Let's go back to our page, and there we go, my label 1, and we had 3 buttons. So let's put them in a paragraph tag. My label 2, my label 3, 2, 3, and we had a variant contained, and we had variant text. This is us using this in our React package. So this is we're using a React package into our React project. And let's just check it in our console log. Clicking one, second button click, third button clicked. Just so that we have it working, let's just put it as reset. And type equals submit. And if we check our files or with code, we'll see our type is reset, type is submit, and the default is type button. There we have it. We have used our package into a project. So now we will build our project. And there we have our build folder. So now we'll deploy this project onto Firebase. So go to console.firebase.google.com. You can create a new project. I already have an existing project, so I'll use that instead. Under build, under hosting, you should click get started. npm install -Firebase tools. If you don't have it installed, you would want to install this. I already have it installed, so I'll go to the next. Firebase login. And this should open our browser. You select your user, allow all the permissions, and now this should have been working. Once we are logged in, we can close this. We have to click run this command. Firebase init. Are you ready to proceed? Yes. Now mine is hosting. Use existing project, and we will select my tutorial. The public directory is build. Create as a single page app. Let's make sure we have index.html. We do. Set up auto builds no. File overwrite it no. And this should create our Firebase JSON and Firebase sec. Let's just deploy everything. So this is our application on Firebase. Inspect, button reset, submit, click, button 1 clicked, button 2 clicked, button 3 clicked. And if we go back to Firebase, if I go back to hosting, we will see that my website is deployed. I messed up the way the multiple hosting. Regardless, this is where the site is. my fp1. There we go.